Hello, everybody. This is Nicholas Tanek. Oh, it's 2022, and we have a very interesting show tonight. And she's a friend. I say, like, I have friends. I have kinky friends, but then I have friends, and this woman is my friend. Oh my God, she's back for the third time, and we're gonna talk about FNorg, this organization that she's an advisory board member of. We're going to talk about sex blogging. We're going to find out what spacecraft is, but we're also going to talk about bipolar and PTSD and staying kinky and in this wild world of where things are falling apart and trying to put it back together. Please welcome the magnificent Sugar Cunt. Say hi.
Hi. Hello.
How have you? How have you been? What's going to be? It's been a while since we did this show together. But so, how have you been?
All right. It's been hectic. Last time we talked, I was living in Salem, Oregon, and now I live in Portland, which is, I haven't gone anywhere, done anything because COVID, but professionally, it's a much better place for me to be given my business. So I like it here. I'm trying to get my life back on track. Like, I've been recovering from homelessness for about 4 years now, 3.5, 4, and it's just like you never get that leg up. Like, you think you're climbing up, and you're not climbing up. You're like it gets kicked out from under you. You get an unexpected bill, something goes wrong, and like,
oh yeah,
everything's a mess again, and it's impeded like my health stuff, getting my blogging work and the stuff I love to do done. It's just been really frustrating, but I'm trying to get back on track, trying to do the thing. So fingers crossed.
and I think that we're all kind of going through that. I had a full-on liver transplant. My my girlfriend literally just got out of the psych ward. Was diagnosed as bipolar and is dealing with PTSD with that. And we're definitely going to talk about that because you are an advocate for education and knowledge and just, about spreading awareness about that, which is something I definitely want to talk with you about. And Portland. Oh my God, Portland. What's your opinion on Portlandia? I always ask people from Portland that.
When I first saw it, I definitely didn't even live out here. I was still living in North Carolina, and like I didn't get it. And then I tried it another time, and I thought it was funny, and I watched it all the way through. And like now, I still I put it on and I enjoy it. And even just being online here, since I haven't been out as much because of like mobility stuff and the pandemic and not having my own like transportation and stuff, like you can see that some of these characters and stuff, like it's definitely rooted in what you can find in Portland.
Definitely. So, are you still making human furniture?
Yeah, my favorite footstool is still my nesting partner. I haven't, like, we haven't had a lot of like designated long human furniture sessions, but I still use her as a desk and put my feet all over her and just drag her around to do whatever I want. And she's tall, like I'm 5 feet tall, but she's like 6'3" or whatever. So like she reaches everything for me. So she's like one of those reach grabbers that you can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, except I don't have to get up.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So if you had your wish granted of any kind of human furniture that you could create, and that could mean multiple humans involved.
Okay, I like it.
What would you make?
Oh, so good. Okay, so honestly, I cannot get over the idea of like a Cal king size bed of humans. Okay. There's just layers to that, literally and metaphorically, that I really appreciate.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they would all have to be able to obviously take the absolute slamming any bed gets, but I'm sure some people would be down to try.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of it. It's,
Right.
you
Just see
need,
if it works.
quote unquote, you need structure in your life.
And if I get to tell the structure what to do, the more the better.
Yeah, that's true structure too. So tell us about FN.org. That's, keep in mind, it's EFFING.org.
Yeah, so the Effing Foundation is I joined the advisory council for it within the last year, back in 2021. And the Effing Foundation gives $5,000 grants to sex positive educational and artistic projects that meet our organization's requirements for like inclusion, like accuracy, stuff like that. I mean, we don't want to we don't want to give it to like exclusive and inaccurate stuff, but so art projects, community gatherings, educational things, mutual aid funds, like these are all some of the things that people are funding with grants from the Effing Foundation. We picked our most recent grant recipients back in like March. I believe we announced them in April, and it was really exciting. It was my first time doing it, and this is kind of exactly the kind of thing I wanted to move into doing within the community, is like doing more I guess higher level instead of like independent me doing every single thing stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting, and it was so cool to get to see all these amazing projects, because even though like there were so many that we couldn't award grants to everything, but there were so many that were like beautiful and cool, and just like, oh shit, yeah, that community does, like, they do need this like comprehensive and culturally adequate like sex ed, and like we need more of those voices out there. So it was such an exciting way to spend my year. The grant stuff happens in the fall, so yeah, I don't know, I love it. I'm really excited. I'm doing it again next year.
Yeah,
I'll do it as long as they'll have me.
and what's interesting about it is that it's it's like a noble thing to do, and especially my story with Lynn. Basically, she passed away, and now the Theo is someone who is now identifies themselves as male, was born
Yeah.
female, identifies themselves as male, and needs organizations like this, basically, to find a sense of community, and not only find education in it, but find friends in it, and literally to not feel alone, not feel like the only one out there who's going through some kind of situation, whether it mental, emotional, or physical, that to find a sense of alone. That's why I'm very positive, very I celebrate someone like you, and it's something like the FNorg organization, or the foundation, and that's why I have people on like you. And it also shout out to the National Coalition of Sexual Freedom.
Yes.
I interviewed some people from them, and yeah, and so that is a wonderful thing. So with effing.org, there's something that's called Teascraft. Tell us about Teascraft. What is that?
Oh yeah, I think the stuff you see about Teascraft is usually, I believe, Effing's founder, Dr. Kit Stubbs, started Teascraft. Teascraft is a meetup. I know it happens in Boston. I don't know if there are Teascraft groups in other cities. I'm not involved. I would love to be involved in it, but I'm not right now. And it's a meetup for people who like want to create like sex toys, BDSM equipment. They want to make it themselves. And so Teascraft is for it's for people to get together and learn more about making that stuff. And talk about it,
That's
do it
really
together.
cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing idea.
Yeah, so it's like kind of arts and crafts / wood shop / metal shop for kinky people.
Right. Yeah,
I so
it
wish I paid
sounds
more
so
attention in
fun.
those classes in high school than
Right. If I had known that it could impact my ability to add things to my kink life, I would
yeah.
have paid way more attention.
And then I was also thinking because I'm a college graduate, I spent all this stuff. Then I get cirrhosis of the liver, and I'm thinking I wish I spent more time paying attention in physiology and biology class.
Yeah, anytime you get sick, it's like that. I feel like, like you have to start really like learning about what you're going through and the care you need, especially like the more mental or chronic illnesses you have. Like the more you stack up, you just have to become your own expert.
So let's dive right into that. As
Yeah.
my girlfriend, who's also my dom. We live a very kinky lifestyle. We play with other people. We have fun. We have a lot of fun. She has written, articles. She just wrote an article. No, she didn't just write it. She wrote an article a long time ago that we just reposted, and people started really liking it,
Mhm.
which is the I'm paraphrasing the title, but it's basically, weird shit I used to do before I found sex toys.
I totally have written an article similar to that talking about the bad idea things I
Yeah,
inserted when I should have. I
that's
really just needed
exactly
a
what it is,
like
right? Yeah,
I love those stories.
and but so she on the physical side, she took
Mhm.
care of me after my transplant.
Yeah.
A sexy nurse's outfit really does come in handy. I mean, say that. Especially like when you can't get out of bed when you're the patient.
Mhm.
It's fun being the patient sometimes. Let's put it that way. And but now like she had to go. Literally, she had to voluntarily commit herself into a
Mhm.
psych ward, and she was diagnosed with, as bipolar. And after that, she came out, and she's suffering from PTSD from dealing with the institutionalization of it, of
Yeah.
the nurses, medication, all that stuff. So, someone who, as you are an advocate of, and to kind of spread awareness of that whole situation, how did you? Please tell us your story. How did you deal with it, and what can people
Mhm.
do who are dealing with that?
Yeah. Okay. So my story really starts when I was like 12 years, no, 12 years old. And I started having some symptoms of depression, but like, I mean, I certainly didn't know what they were. I was going through puberty. But actually, what kind of brought it up for the first time was I was like making this list of like um, ways to commit suicide, but they were like comedic. Like it was ways to commit suicide in Walmart. So like
Okay.
yeah, like I got creative with it. Um and like it was meant to be dark comedy for sure.
Oh yeah, really.
But also like it was my first time experiencing any suicidal ideation or thinking about it, and like it's not like I knew what it meant. It's not like I really like understood. Like I was just thinking about killing myself a lot, and I wanted it to entertain me at least. And a teacher actually caught me and some of my friends laughing at it and saw it and called in my mom, and we had to have a meeting. And uh and in this meeting my mom was like, do you really feel like this? And like I didn't know what to do, right? Because like I didn't even know how to talk about my feelings. Like I'm still learning to talk about my feelings, and I'm turning 32 in August, right? Like I'm still learning to identify when I'm having a feeling. And so like like I didn't want to get her in trouble. I didn't want to make her mad. So I was like, no, it's a joke. it's a joke. And she was like, oh, good, because I wanted to laugh at some of that in the meeting, but I was really worried. and because my mom was always like really supportive of my writing, but it was always extremely red flaggy, if you know what.
Oh no, exactly what you mean. I wrote a book called The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself.
Right, exactly. Like I was writing about like kids hanging child molesters and like shooting abusive husbands in the head and shit in high school, and like teachers had me like going around to classes to read the story about shooting the husband in the head to, and nobody thought to send me to our school social worker to just have somebody like lean in and be like, are you okay? And so around like once I got to 13 and like the major depressive symptoms were really setting in and it was really bad, I knew I was mentally ill. I knew something was wrong with me and I didn't know what it was. And that kind of kick-started my special interest in mental health, because trying to figure out what the fuck my deal was is what got me researching, what got me interested in it, what got me the first degree the first 4-year degree, the only 4-year degree. Okay, sorry. I did school for 6 years and I did like a liberal arts degree, and then I was working on a bachelor's of social work and sociology, and then I did like web design and web technology. So that's what got me into social work. Like I wanted to do clinical like counseling for people.
Mhm.
And someone, when I was in high school, I did my senior exit project on depression because glass blowing got taken by somebody like 4 things before me, and I was like, I guess it's about depression. And I like taught a lesson plan and made awareness things, and I made like awareness commercials.
And I wonder where that student is that took the glass blowing class is now.
I would be curious to see if they still do it, honestly. But yeah,
I'm not interviewing them. I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, I'm definitely way louder and weirder about my sex life than most of the people where I'm from.
And that's one thing I love about you. Seriously, that's really one of the things, many things I love about you. But so I think what both of us do, we take we take the negativity in our life, the tragedy in our life, and what's it's all relative. So it's like something bad can happen to me, and yet someone can stub their toe and it's the end of the world for them.
Right.
But what you do is that you take your tragedy and you take and the negativity, and you create, and you use creativity over the negativity. And so, and that's something I believe I did too with The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. Lynn died, and I took all of her stories, my stories, and I made a book, and it was very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
So with your blogging and your art and everything like that, how would you say that is therapeutic for you in many ways?
Hugely. It's been hugely therapeutic. Like even before I started like talking about my mental health and disability stuff on my platform a lot, like it was really therapeutic to just okay, so one time when I was in high school, my best friend's boyfriend was like, all you ever talk about is sex. And I was like, and like that wasn't literally true, but it does describe most of what I'm talking about.
I know,
when I get
confused. I get the same thing. They're like, just because I do this doesn't mean like it I mean, sex is extremely important in my life, but I am into other things as well.
Right.
Just like all the dominatrixes that like I interview, they like to cook, or they like to ride horses, or they like art, or they like painting, or whatever, like they do have lives,
Right. So for me, like starting this blog was an outlet to share like my frustrations, my horror stories. Like one of my first horror stories is about the time we accidentally shredded my vagina, inserting something that was not a sex toy in it. And, like, I just wanted to tell this awful fucking story because it's like people should probably know not to do this. And maybe if we were teaching comprehensive sex education, my vagina would have the texture closer to what it had before that happened, because it forever changed the texture of the interior of my vagina. Which,
Okay,
I mean, it's fine, but
okay, we
like,
got to back up for a second there. What accidentally shredded your vagina?
okay, I do not know if I don't know what like the technical term for this, but a friend gave me this small little like massage spa wellness kit, and it had a cylindrical tapered smooth wooden roller in it, except the problem was the edges were flat, not rounded. And so like it was like really ridged, and I love that. Like I love texture. To this day, like it's still probably like the best texture that's been in my vagina, except for the part where I was bleeding and in pain afterward. Um and yeah, like it was great. I was having the time of my life, and like my boyfriend at the time was down there with it, and he stops, and I'm like, "Why did you stop?" And he was like, "You are bleeding," and I was like, "I don't give a fuck." And he was like, "No, you're bleeding
That's
a lot,"
hardcore.
and like, and his hands are just covered in blood. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I should probably go figure out what's going on." And like, I go to the bathroom to check it out, and it just feels like my cunt is full of bees, angry bees. It was awful. And I wish that I had felt comfortable going to my mom and being like, I did a stupid thing and I need to see a gynecologist just to make sure that like this heals right or doesn't get infected or whatever. But I didn't. And I was lucky that I didn't get any kind of infection, nothing more serious happened. But so now like what happened, like after it healed, the difference was that like the inside of my vagina felt like frilly, kind of like a doily. When I touched it, it reminded me of a doily, and that's not exactly how it was before.
See, like, these things you could laugh about it now.
Oh yeah, at the time it was fucking traumatic.
Of
And the
course, I
funny
can
thing was
imagine.
my boyfriend was like so afraid of blood that like I came out of the bathroom and he was curled up in the corner of the bed freaking out. And I was like, "My pussy's on fire. Why are you there? Well, like, get out here. Why are you?" And then I went and made him feel better because I had no standards and didn't know, you know, that maybe just taking care of myself was more important than taking care of the man child I dated.
All right, so I love quotes, and so these are the quotes that I have so far, and we're only 20 minutes in. All right. We started off slow with my favorite footstool is my resting partner, is still my resting partner. And I was like, oh, that's a great way to kick things off. But then
good footstool pun.
Then we got I accidentally shredded my vagina.
I did.
Yeah, and then I like this is what's great. I think I'm gonna start off with this one. I felt like my cunt was full of bees. ... Angry bees.
They were so angry.
And then I also love this one. My pussy's on fire. Why are you there?
Right? Like, why are you in fetal? This is not your trauma, dude.
Yeah. It's your vagina. It's on his.
Right. So that, like I talked about that because I think it's a great example of why we need to teach people about things that can go in their body or not.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about sex toys, and without naming names, right? Like you've reviewed sex toys, and you've I hope you're getting free sex toys.
Oh yeah, no, I don't pay for sex. I haven't paid for sex toys since like 2012. I don't I don't have a lot of money, so I don't allow myself to buy sex toys if I want them most of the time because I can't afford it. and I do something that can obtain some sex toys for free.
I do the same thing with sex toys. So without naming names,
Okay.
I'm sure, just like I have, I'm sure you've gotten some bad sex toys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any funny stories about like bad sex toys that were given to you for free? Like, here, review this. And you're like, I don't know if I should review this. I don't know if you want me to review this.
Yeah, there's definitely been stuff. Like there was a rabbit vibe one time that I agreed to take off the hands of somebody else who was like, I hate this and I don't want to review it. And I was like, shit, I've got time, right? And then I figured out why the other blogger fucking hated it, because like it was awful. It was terrible. It was just so bad. It was not powerful. It didn't feel good. It wasn't even easy to insert, but it wasn't even like that big or anything. Like there was just no reason for it to be as awful as it was. And this was back in like 2013, 20, actually I guess the last when I actually finally got around to using it was like 2015 probably, because that was when I had the jerkathon where I like jerked off with a bunch of shit I needed to like review and try out for like 2 hours, and I live tweeted it. And I so I was like bitching about this online, and like somebody else was like, I was like, who is this toy for? Like, is it any good? And one of my friends was like, that depends. How long would it last as a dog toy? Like as a toy for a dog.
Never thought of it that way.
What?
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, and then there was another one that was designed to simulate oral sex with a wheel of tongues.
Oh yeah,
and,
no, I've seen that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, that thing will pull your pubes. That thing also, like I'm fat. I've always been fat. I have like a fat cunt, so like my outer vulva are thicker, so I have to part them for something to get to my clit. But with a toy like that, like there's not enough power behind the tongues to part, so you have to part it yourself. So I actually had to get my partner at the time to hold it for me in place, and I'm like, this defeats the purpose of me masturbating. Like, I use sex toys with other people, that's fine, but like if I'm going to simulate oral sex and the person who gives me oral sex is right here in the room holding it and won't pull my pubes out, why would I use this?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And I've a good friend of mine, Mistress Genevieve. She's out of New Orleans, and I was so happy that we got these free sex toys, and I was, I was like, because we started doing reviews for them, and like Melissa and I have a funny unboxing episode where she didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was. And we knew it was a sex toy, but we didn't know what kind of sex toy it was. And it kind of looked like a black little black baby kind of swan.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, oh, okay, this is it. We plug it in, and we start fooling around with it, and this is all on there, and all of a sudden it starts inflating. The look on her face was amazing, and then I remember, so I posted, my mom sees it and is like, what are you guys doing? But like, so Miss Genevieve, I send this thing that I have the sex toy company send Miss Genevieve the sex toy, and I was so embarrassed because she's taking this video and it falls apart just by her her plugging it in to charge it. It starts falling apart, and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." It's not like I made it. It's not like it's mine.
Right. But you're just like, I didn't mean to send you something shitty.
Yeah. So, okay, everybody out there, if you're a sex toy company, if you're a good sex toy company, prove us wrong. Prove Sugar Cunt and Nicholas Tanek and my friends wrong. Send us decent quality sex toys. If it's great, we will promote it. We will do episodes about it. We will say everything we can, but send us quality stuff, please. Prove us, like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like I wouldn't put a porous I don't use porous sex toys. So like if a company sends me a toy and I'm like, this is clearly porous and it like smells like a shower curtain and shit, I'm like, I'm not gonna use this. No, if you open the dildo and it sweats, it has like that sheen of off gassing from the stuff in the jelly or whatever, and it smells. Do not put that on your body.
Yeah.
Don't put it in you. Don't put it on you. Honestly, don't even hit your friend in the face with it just because it's rude and the stuff is actually kind of hard to get off your skin.
Okay. All right. So, okay, if you were gonna make your own sex toy, right? What would make for you? Because everyone's different. Everyone's kink is different, right? I'm into things that other people aren't, and stuff like that, and they're into things that I'm not into. But this is a celebration of sexual expression. This show is all about. But if you had unlimited resources and you can make the perfect sex toy for you, what would it be? What would it do?
God, I think it would be like a multi-parter. Like I think we'd have like a pussy pump that you start with, and then the clitoral stimulation is applied, and then there's a fucking machine. But the thing with the dong on the fucking machine is it needs to be one of those like cum tube ones, so you can get the sensation of being filled with a liquid.
Oh, okay.
yeah. No, it's like a water sports related kink.
Oh no, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to sex toys, like the ejaculation sex toys, that's like a big thing, especially with feminized males and cross dressers. Like doms who make men's like suck cock. In order to so like the fake ejaculation, they're not really doing it. So like, there's a sex toy to simulate the whole thing.
But yeah, you still get the bukkake, your fucking sub at the end of the session, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I guess. For everybody,
Bukkake for everyone. Line up.
And then since you're in Portland, do they make like organic, like body friendly sex toys or eco friendly sex toys?
You can totally find some of those, and they're not even all local to Portland by any stretch, although I'm sure some might be. I believe it's Leaf that like even a decade ago they were talking about how eco-friendly they were. Organic stuff, you can definitely find lubes that are there's like way more lubes on the market now, so you can find stuff that's like more organic, stuff that's missing a lot of like common chemicals and additives and stuff for people who are sensitive to them. The offerings there have gotten so much better. Well, working retail at the sex toy store really helped me bone up on my lube game and like what's on the market now there.
I'm a huge fan of lube. Now,
love it.
What's your opinion on silicone lube?
Oh, I love silicone lube. I mean, as long as you like make sure your toy can take it, because like the crossover with silicone toys is not great usually. So it's like case by case, and you have to patch test it. Like, I love silicone lube. I think it's great. My favorite silicone lube, like, it's also just good for like vaginal dryness, which is fantastic because I like that it's like, yeah. It's that stuff. It rubs in kind of. It's got like vitamin E and stuff in it. It's only got like 3 ingredients, 3 or 4, and it's like the 2 types of silicone in it and the vitamin E. And so while it is silicone lube, it doesn't really necessarily have like that lasting slickness that a lot of silicone lube does.
Water-based.
Yeah, well, it's not water-based. It's more like it like rubs in so you feel silky smooth after. It's fascinating. Honestly, if you use a lot of silicone lube, you've probably used it. It's been on the market a really long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I just like it because I actually like that it rubs in, because then like I don't feel uncomfortable and like I have to do like a really like in-depth clean of whatever I put it on my body. You know what I mean? Because it just kind of like rubs in and moisturizes the skin. So it's like if there's still some lube on my junk after, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. So you were also talking about um, basically homelessness, and
Yeah.
there was a time when Lynn, who I wrote The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself about, who no one kills himself in the book, just so you know, she died of ovarian cancer, and but she was homeless for a while. So but there was something about not having money, not have um, you become very resourceful and also very creative when it comes to sex and sexuality. You know what I mean? So we have a segment that I haven't really opened up in a long time. We probably did before, because everybody check out part 1 and 2, Sugar Cunt, those interviews, and Sugar Cunt is no stranger to your kinky friends, and so BDSM on a budget. Not everybody can afford sex toys. Not everybody can afford, like a tiny bottle of Astroglide is actually pretty expensive. You know,
Yeah.
not everybody can afford corsets and outfits and whips. So, for perfect example, one of the implements that Miss Melissa uses is a wooden ruler that she had in the 3rd grade.
Love it.
And that shit hurts.
Yeah.
And so what are some ways for BDSM on a budget for someone who doesn't really have money, but ways that you could still be kinky and not spend either little or no money at all?
Well, I honestly like I'm a huge proponent of like the mental side of kink anyway, because it's like
Oh yeah.
uh yeah, like I'm mostly a head in a jar, so so the brain stuff is what gets me. So honestly, I really encourage people to, if they're struggling with not having a lot of care and stuff, to really consider things like role playing and like power dynamic stuff that interests them that they've been hesitant to do. And honestly, like the thing with role playing is like, some people are like, oh, we gotta have accessories. I gotta have my costumes, and like, I love costumes. I love accessories, right? But like, I ain't got money for that. So, like, my girlfriend and I have a number of different like role plays that totally get us off, and it's just like us, acting it out. We don't have the props. We don't have that stuff. We're like either narrating or dialoguing to one another through the whole scene, and like, it's fine. It works. I mean, it works great. We get off. It's great. But like, you'd the trappings of kink, the physical trappings of like a role play scene, unless they are required for, like a very specific like one of my like lab kinks is like test tubes, right? And so it's like it might be hard for me to like pretend that somebody's fingers are a test tube, but like it's fine. That's not what I do. I do
Yeah.
a bunch of like
Well, it's
sacrilege.
like if you go to an improv, like a comedy improv group, and they're like, give us a location. They say elevator. They don't build an elevator on stage. They pretend they're in an elevator, or
It's
you're
it's
pregnant,
super
you're at
improv
Walkers or
based.
something like that.
Yeah, it's super improv based because like I
Since you
think,
don't,
and this is a piece of advice I dumped out in a big like info dump of Dom tips I posted a couple of years ago, and then I moved to my blog. Like, uh, just yoink that improv guideline of yes
oh yes, yes,
and just go with it. Like, just try it. And then honestly, like some of my impact implements I still have kind of like hanging around in my bags of toys and stuff are just straight up like wooden spoons and stuff that I like picked up on the cheap at Goodwill, like a buck that I grabbed out of something when I was there trying to buy clothes or whatever. And like that shit hurts. That
yeah,
shit hurts.
my in the forward to my book, Your Kinky Friends, there's 2 forwards, one by Luna and one by Melissa. And she writes about like going to Home Depot. She's buying like other crap, like stuff that she needs from Home Depot, but like then there's rope and chains that they sell at Home Depot. You know, you got to like get the length yourself and everything like that, or the sticks that they use to stir paint. You know,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
and they're cheap. You know, you don't even with COVID, like they don't like. It's not like they're masks or eggs or baby formula now. You know, it's like those things, like those little wooden sticks to stir paint. They're cheap.
Yeah. So like if you say get carried away and it breaks while you're swatting somebody, you don't care that much either.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, it's not like I had this specially made with your name on it, carved in, you know, painted and stuff
now
like
it's in half.
that. Yeah,
Your ass is steel
my friend Shari has a paddle, like a Game of Thrones paddle that like has a like it's beautiful, it's nice and everything like that. But like I'm sure it took a lot of time and energy, and it's beautiful and that's wonderful. If you have the money and if you have the time, and that was a gift. I mean, she's a dominatrix, so people give her gifts all the time, you know, and have it specially made and stuff like that, or make them themselves. You know, that is wonderful, but not everybody has that luxury.
Yeah, not everybody lives a life where bespoke anything is an option.
Yeah.
Which, you know, bummer, but yeah, I love this BDSM on a budget thing you do, because I think it's like money shouldn't be a gateway to having the kind of sex you want. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And especially like if you have enough imagination, right, to that you know you're turned on. If you're a man that is turned on by being put into a French maid outfit by a woman, you know, if you're a man who gets turned on when a woman puts you in a French maid outfit, you know, and changes your name to a female name or something like that, you have enough imagination to use like a paint stirrer, you know.
You just reminded me of a story I think you'd really like.
Okay.
So I have a friend with benefits that we are not scening together currently, but
Let me interrupt real quick. One thing that's really good, one thing that's wonderful about the kink community is friends with benefits.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go on.
Yeah. So when he and I do scene, I dom him, and I'm his master, goddess, or daddy, or whatever, and we do some like intense dehumanization, and honestly, like we've done it pretty much all over text, just because we haven't had the chance to get together. Wow. We lived in the same area when we met on Tinder, and we still have not gotten together like 3 years later. And we do this like intense dehumanization. So basically we do a thing where it's like if I were to contact him on like WhatsApp or whatever, that would be me pulling on his leash. Okay. And he would have to, you know, respond as soon as possible or whatever. Like, and whenever, you know, I contacted him there, it was like, as you know, as long as we, you know, agreed it was going to be insane, then his pronouns were its, and he couldn't refer to himself as anything but it. And he, like, the headspace that like deep dehumanization put him in was just great. It was so fun. But you talking about having pronouns changed in the maid outfit made me think of it.
No, it's an interesting situation. I mean, let's talk about that. One thing about the kink community has really educated me and has educated other people in how to respect gender identity. You know, pronouns and you know, for example, you know, we were talking about Theo. Lynn's, you know, was born a daughter, but now identifies himself as a male. You know, and but with kink, there's also an aspect of it where there's that taboo aspect with quote unquote, like say sissification or, so how do you kind of walk that line between being respectful and proper, but also using the kind of taboo aspects of kink to play around with gender roles?
That's a great question, actually. So for me, it's like, I personally, for starters, like, I'm non-binary and I go by like a few different honorific options of either like gender, typical gender, like daddy or goddess or whatever. And so for me, uh, it's usually what I choose there, is based on like the scene or like my role in the dynamic and what just kind of like feels right for the energy I have with somebody and like the rapport between us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also just like really affirming, to have partners who do that instead of being like jilted out of my dominant headspace by like randos who slide into your DMs like, "Hi, mistress. I've been looking for a woman to dominate me all my life. Would you please do it,
I
miss?"
get those messages, and I'm like, I'm a guy. I'm not a
Yeah,
dominatrix.
right. It's yeah, it's super common, and it's just like, and the thing is, like, when you get those messages, you know you're not even the only person. Like,
Oh, it's copy paste.
one of like
Copy pasta.
60 people that somebody spammed this to because they liked your Instagram pictures.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, dude, like, I'm not even gonna respond to you when you approach me that way, and don't even come with the baseline respect. I do it on FetLife too. Like FetLife, my FetLife profile has it's very comprehensive, and it at the start, like, it mentions like my pronouns are they them, and you're gonna have to use them in scene no matter what you call me. And it's like, don't call me miss or mistress. uh and I still get people on FetLife who like will come at me wanting to sub, and it's like they didn't even read the first paragraph of my profile where I said don't call me mistress. And furthermore, like, don't use an honorific on me when I haven't even been introduced to you at all, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
um
another with one thing that I get is that I get people, I guess, posing as dominatrixes, saying that I'm looking for a slave or I'm looking for a submissive.
uh-huh.
Any, like, no offense to, I understand you got to start somewhere, but any dominatrix who's looking for a submissive or slave, they don't really need to reach out and market themselves to it. Like, they'll come, like, the submissives will come to them, and
Yeah, yeah, like people will swarm you if you are just like they're doing your thing.
yeah, especially if you're a professional, like if you're doing it for a living, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, there's
um,
always people filing in.
I'm in a unique situation. I mean, like, you read the book, The Kinky Friends. It's a true story. The dom I'm with reached out to me because, what, but I'll say about the reason why is because I had a very personal and real profile and she didn't really reach out to. She's not a professional dominatrix or anything like that. She just does it, and, life's in
The
it
love of the game.
for the love of it, and and she reached out to me because she saw something in my profile that connected with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think it's funny that, because even today, literally 10 minutes before we had this conversation, I got a message on Facebook saying, "I'm looking for a submissive. Will you
Oh
do
my gosh. On Facebook?
on
You're looking for some
Facebook of all
Facebook,
places?" Yeah,
right? Ah.
yeah. Like, do you know what you're doing? Like, okay, so if you're gonna be a dom, you have to know what you're doing. Whether you're a male dom or a female dom, or whatever gender, if you're gonna play the role of a dominant person, you you gotta have your stuff together. You gotta have your shit together.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
honestly,
as a sub too, you have to be respectful, and don't just beg to be someone submissive. Don't do,
right? I oh shit, hold on. I just ADHD'd out and it just lost what I was saying. Oh yeah, I also feel that it's super important. Like it's very obviously important. Like all DOMs need to know the safety shit for, the things that we're doing. But I think it's also really important for the subs to learn that as well, because I've been on dates where like when I'm like switching or bottoming or whatever, and like somebody will start to choke me, but they're compressing my windpipe. And I'm like, no, dude, no, you need to fucking stop. Let me show you where the carotid arteries are. Like, what are you doing?
Definitely. Well, let's go back to bipolar and
Yeah.
and PTSD, because this is
Yeah,
something
that's
that,
some institutionalization tales coming up. Yeah.
it's weird because like when I was young, I was fascinated with mental institutions. And like it was like I used to make my own straitjackets out of like raincoats and belts, and I'd wiggle on the floor, and I'd try to get out, and I would come, and I thought I broke myself because I didn't know what ejaculation was. You know what I mean? That's how young
Yeah.
and stupid I was.
Yeah.
And now like I'm seeing the effect of being institutionalized, and it's not like just a fetish anymore. I'm not turned on by it. So it's like, and there's a lot of people in the BDSM, well, just in general, but like because this is your kinky friends, let's keep it to the kink community and the BDSM relationship. So if you are diagnosed with being bipolar as someone, but you still want to keep kink in your life, and you still want to keep a sexual relationship kind of flowing in your life, what advice would you give to somebody? And not necessarily advice, but like, how did you handle it? How did you deal with it as someone who has to deal with being bipolar and also keep a sexual relationship going?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I have bipolar 2, which is the mostly depressive kind, and it's I get hypomania instead of like full blown mania.
Okay.
Um, and and I mean honestly, like PTSD also super factors into like totally breaking your sex life in my experience. Uh,
Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Let's answer the phone. We'll definitely we'll get to your question. Don't worry.
yeah. So for me, I got diagnosed with bipolar 2 in 2012, and the problem with bipolar depression when you have bipolar 2 is like, even if I'm not fucking like emotionally bereft, like if I'm not majorly depressed and suicidal, like I can still be experiencing some of the like I guess better word might be like latent symptoms of it, like executive dysfunction. So it's like impossible to start, like get started doing something. It's difficult to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. It's hard to stay organized because a lot of mental illnesses and a lot of neurodiverse things, like I'm autistic, I have ADHD, and they both too also affect executive dysfunction or executive function and dysfunction. And so, like, one of the things that I found was like, it ate my sex drive for a while. It was weird because I've always been like a chronic masturbator. Um, and it was weird for me to go from like having, like, I built my whole life around sex because it's one of my special interests. I've been interested in my whole like life. I can remember pretty much like since childhood, just inordinately interested in sex. And
Yeah, I'm fascinated
when
with it too, obviously.
yeah, right. And when I was married and my partner was emotionally abusive, which, experiencing abuse also like will totally worsen your symptoms of depression, your mental health problems, and give you fucking PTSD or make your PTSD worse if you already have complex PTSD, as I did. And so like my sex drive died, and it was like I just didn't know who I was. Like I felt like I had this big loss of my identity because another thing I have is borderline personality disorder, and identity problems are a part of it. An unstable identity and trouble developing an identity are a part of that. And so like for so long my identity was defined by my interest in sex, and then all of a sudden it was like I didn't want to have sex, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, who am I? What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to maintain intimacy with my partner, which we weren't having that much sex anyway. And it wasn't kinky sex, which was part of the problem. But so,
understand, like, how can you not have kinky sex if you're dating someone named Sugar Cunt?
be vanilla. When I really loved my ex-wife, and I was really surprised when I found myself wanting to marry her, and like even though she wasn't super kinky, I was like, love matters more. And then I realized, after we split up, I was like the reason we split up was not because of the sex and the kink stuff, it was the abuse. But I was like, I'm not gonna do that again. I'm not gonna like get with like a strictly vanilla person again because it doesn't work for me sexually. It's boring for me.
Yeah.
And so what I found helpful though to like maintain intimacy was like, instead of having sex, we did like some like rituals. Like every night before bed, I would brush and braid my ex-wife's hair, and we would snuggle and we'd listen to a podcast. And it like when this formed out of me being like, listen, can we just say that we're going to try to have intimate time, like, like half an hour before bed or whatever, and we don't have to have sex, but if we do have sex, that's great, but it's time for us to like touch each other and like bond and stuff. Honestly, like it was kind of like I became her dom, because it was like I was doming, and I like had, she didn't act like a little, but it was like I had a little that like I was doing her hair, I was, her makeup, take care of her skin,
Well,
rub
you're
her
the
back.
dominant one, the dominant force. So
The dominant force in that. And so it was like, yeah, like I would give attention to her and stuff. And I mean, that was really good for like meeting some of our needs, for like my need for physical intimacy, and my need for like structure, and also kink. Yeah, I just blanked.
No, okay, yeah. Andu Salop asks, Mistress Sugar Cunt, is it true that many alpha males hiding their submissive side?
I think that alpha male is a joke concept and cannot be applied to people. So alpha males hiding their submissive, like if you mean, the guys who like to say they're alpha males, oh yeah, sure, lots of them want to be kicked around. But I mean, they're not alphas. I'm the alpha. What?
Yeah, right on. Okay, so let's flip it now. What would you say, just as someone who has suffered from, has been diagnosed bipolar and has suffered from PTSD? There's the person in the relationship with you, right? So for example, like my girlfriend just, got out of the psych ward, and I had to deal with her dealing with her medication. So that means tantrums and everything triggering her, and it through time things change, and she kind of gets back to her, I don't want to say normal self. Normal self's not the right word, but like, that person basically who I fell in love with before,
Yeah.
like the real person that she is. That's not, changed by medication or anything like that. Because like I was on medication too with the liver transplant. I was a different person. Like my personality was completely different. They pumped me with testosterone, which it wasn't pretty, like literally wasn't pretty. Like my face broke out. I became nasty and stuff like that. So with someone as a partner who's dealing with someone who is bipolar, what advice would you give to that person who's not bipolar but who loves someone who is?
I'm sure that you've already clued into this, but like some patience is very good, especially like, when the bipolar diagnosis is new, when she's still getting used to like, because the thing about getting a new diagnosis is like, you have to learn to identify when the symptoms are happening to you sometimes, especially like with the mood disorder stuff, with stuff that gives you impulse control, with like impulse control issues, with stuff that like you can just like hair trigger, just the switch will flip, um yeah, like she's probably going to be going through like she's still obviously processing all the trauma from inpatient, which like even just like even my experiences where like inpatient was good, and which like both times I went, like I should have gone or I would be dead, but like even just waiting in the ER or whatever beforehand can be so traumatic, and the intake of getting in there, and then you're in like a new place. If you've never been institutionalized before, it can be very scary depending on where you are. I think partners of people with bipolar disorder, especially if your partner experiences a lot of psychotic symptoms, something that's good to do is I mean, it's helpful for you to learn about these symptoms as well, so that like if you know your partner experiences some like delusions or psychosis or something, like a delusion about surveillance or something, like you have to know how to interact with that, because like interacting with somebody who's having a delusion, like you don't want to engage with trying to disprove it, but you want to like empathize with them
Yes, of
and make
course.
them feel safe,
And
when they're going.
that's exactly what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
and
um And I think also there's lots of like, and I can send you some of these after this if you want. There's a lot of stuff you can find, like family crisis plans and stuff, that's like worksheets that like y'all can go over. And it was be like she'd write down, okay, like you'll know when things are getting bad for me mentally, because like for me it's like you'll know when things are getting bad for me mentally because I will stop eating, not even necessarily on purpose. Sometimes I just like don't have the executive function and focus to eat, and so I'll get stuck in these like loops where I'm awake for 3 days. I will keep forgetting to, like, even if I go prepare food, it's like I'll prepare food and I'll sit down, and then I look over 12 hours later and my food is cold and I haven't touched it.
yeah.
And so, like, when I'm getting bad, I can't eat, I'm not sleeping, and I'm having trouble taking my meds. Like, I'm not taking them, or I'm not taking them all, or I'm taking them like way off
You
schedule.
forget and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a like I laugh about it now, and I'm not making fun of the situation because I do have a dark sense of humor, like you do too.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And this is an actual conversation where I'm like, you're making this is me. You're making me feel uncomfortable. I really feel that like you're gonna kill me while I sleep. And this is her response. She goes, she laughs and she goes, I would want you awake so you would know it was me. Now, I have a sense of humor, and I do think it's funny. It's a great comeback. It's sharp. But it didn't make me feel any more comfortable.
No, absolutely no.
All
Understand
right.
not.
So, with that being said, Andu asks, I start with foot fetish, and now I have a CBT and cuck and CEI and many other fetishes that I'm afraid if my kinks grow more, could that be dangerous?
I don't think that having a kink is dangerous, but I think you need to make sure that when you're engaging with your kinks, you're doing it in the most like risk aware possible way. So make sure you know the safety stuff. You make sure you have an emergency plan. You make sure you have an emergency contact. Like if you're going to tie
Yeah,
yourself up, somebody needs to know you're tied up somewhere. Um, I don't think it's dangerous to have a lot of kinks. It's much faster for me to list kinks I don't have than to list the ones I do.
I'm the same
Uh,
way.
yeah, just be concerned for your self-preservation and be concerned that your kinks are not non-consensually affecting your loved ones.
Yeah, keep it like safe, sane, and consensual. And even
Oh
the
yeah.
sane part is questionable. You could have it unsane, but if it's like consensual, or if it's like role play unsane, that's a different story.
Right. Yeah, I like a risk-aware consensual kink, rack, and now they do prick, which is personal responsibility informed consensual kink.
Yeah,
Yeah, and both of those are great because I'm crazy as a box of weasels. Like,
oh, it's a new quote. Weasels. Oh my god, Sugar Cunt, it's been absolutely amazing, but we're gonna have to wrap it up. So I always do this rapid fire recommendations. They don't have to be sex or kink related. All right. Recommend, and it doesn't have to be your all-time favorites or anything like that. Just something that like you're feeling these days. You know, so recommend a film.
recommend a film. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm really eager to show this to one of my roommates and my nesting partner. Suicide Club or Noriko's Dinner Table is, speaking of mental health, obvious trigger warning for the whole movie for graphic suicide stuff. Um, Noriko's Dinner Table is this Japanese film from like well over a decade ago that is about a rash of suicides in Japan linked to like some kind of cult, basically. And I was obsessed with this when I was a teenager. I watched it so many times trying to figure it out. And when I figured out like what I could take from the movie, it was about connection and like thinking about the people you're connected to and the people around you. Um, yeah, it like I had to watch it like 20 times. Oh, it's as far as horror movies go though, like it's great. It's disturbing. It's one of my favorites.
Okay. Recommend a song.
Recommend a song. Well, you know what? We were just talking about Bikini Kill, and I've got that on the brain. So I'm gonna say "Suck My Left One."
Oh yeah.
Bikini.
Catherine Hannah. Wonderful.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Recommend a television show.
Recommend television show. Honestly, I have been. Seinfeld has turned into one of my new comfort shows, and like
Oh
it
yeah,
took me
yeah.
a while. Yeah, it took me a while to get into it because, I mean, it was on when I was a kid and I watched it, but like it's way better when you're an adult and you get it.
Oh yeah.
Um, and like even if the first season seems a little weird, the more you watch and the way they develop the characters and the situations that play out, it's really good. And honestly, like it hasn't aged as terribly as a lot of other stuff from the
Yeah,
90s has.
definitely. What's interesting is that there's so many guests in it who like who are
Huge
like now
comedians.
really famous, and
Yeah, it's
they're like, oh
wild.
yeah. Like I think even like Bryan Cranston from like who's in Breaking Bad was in it, stuff like that. Recommend a meal, any meal.
Mac and cheese. It's like the one thing I know I can like always eat.
Okay. Oh, and they got Richard Emling asks, what do you think about consensual non-consensuality? Is this a concept, or does it work, or does it not work in your opinion?
Richard is a friend of mine. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
I like CNC. I like consensual non-consent. Because I think that it's I think it's a legitimate concept. I think that when people have trouble understanding how consensual non-consent could work, it's because they haven't thought broadly enough about how some people structure it. Like for consensual non-consent, I find it's easy to have like a framework where it's like, okay, here are the things that I can do to you without you consenting whenever I want. And we have a special safe word that only applies to these CNC things, that like if the CNC has to stop for real, you say this safe word. And these are the things I'm allowed to do. Like I think it can be really fun, and it can be, as light as like, honestly, there's a light consensual non-consent element in my dynamic with my partner now, because our dynamic now is not so much like goddess and my lowly worm. I mean, it is sometimes, but day to day, I am a cat who decided she was my human, and I make her do everything for me. And I'm like this horrible, spoiled gremlin that she has to just do shit for. So it's this wonderful blend of like, she's the caregiver in the sub, and I'm the dom and getting taken care of. But like, there's a lot of jokes that I make in this horrible gremlin cat, persona, that it's like, you have to hold me over the box when I go. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And we argue about it. And it's like, if this were an actual discussion in any other framework, like it would not be cool for me to keep telling her, yeah, you're going to hold me over the box. You're going to you're going to, but so even just like joking around, understanding it as CNC helps me do that with my partner in a way that keeps us both feeling trusted and like trusting and safe and validated, because we know that like we both truly respect one another's autonomy and needs, and we wouldn't actually violate anything that was not okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I write about non-consensual in the book of Kinky Friends. I had a friend named Randy who basically sat me down and basically said the words, "I want you to rape me." And I'm like, "I'm not raping." And she's like, "No, it's
somebody said that to me
not
too.
real."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want you to and she like she like yelled at me and forced me to do it.
Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had forgotten about it, because most things are lost to time in my memory or lack thereof. But you actually reading about that for you made me less like alarmed when it asked me to rape it, and I was like, okay, let's outline the parameters. What do you mean?
Yeah. That's it. Safe, sane, and consensual.
Hell
Even if
yeah.
it's non-consensual, it's consensual, non-consensual.
Right. That negotiation makes all the difference.
Definitely, without a doubt. And the other thing is, I never forget this, but I know a woman who is into CNC and met someone, and the guy asks, "What are you into?" He goes, "CNC," and he goes, "Oh, I do that for a living." And she's like, "What?"
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but CNC is a type of metalworking. Like,
I did not.
yeah, it's like there's CNC programmers, which you program a machine to make metal, to do to do things with metal, stuff like that. So it took a while. It really surprised the guy after a long time.
Hilarious. So if I tell people I work in CBT and CNC, they will either assume I'm a dominatrix or assume I'm a metalworking psychologist.
Yeah. And you never know, you could be both.
I would love to be both. I wish I could work metal, honestly. That's one of those things we were talking about, like you wish you'd learned and wish you'd spent more time doing.
And that goes back to Teascraft.
Hell yeah. I will definitely try to tweet more info about Teascraft when I dig up. I can't find the home of it right now. That was my problem, or I would have you a link. So when I dig up more information, I'll tweet it. I'll definitely send you a link, Nicholas.
Oh, please
Like,
do.
it sounds
That'd be
rad. If one in Portland, I would totally meet up for that.
definitely. Oh my god. Sugar Khan, as always, you are
Such
a
a
breath of fresh air. and I absolutely I adore you. And please stay in touch. And
Always.
yeah, stand after we're done. But please take this time to promote everything and anything you want to promote, whether it's kink related or not, whether you're writing, your websites, Instagram, Fatlife, whatever.
All right. Well, I've got this for y'all. Okay, so just to follow up for the Effing Foundation first, as we said, EFFing.org is their website. You can find them on Facebook under Effing Foundation, and you can find them on Twitter as Effing Found, not Foundation, just Found. EFFing Found. And then my work you can find on Twitter. I am Sugar Cunt, and I am also Polyfats, Polyfats, which is an account I'm using more to talk about less NSFW topics relating to disability, non-monogamy, fat liberation, queer and trans stuff. My website, as always, has been for over a decade, sugarcuntwrites.com. Writes is in WRITES. I have a Medium page. If you want to help me buy toilet paper and not be on the streets again, send your friends my Medium articles so they'll click them. So I will get small amounts of change eventually from that. Yeah, I think
All
I'm
right.
good.
And I got a little project that I think you'd be very interested in.
I'm so excited to hear it.
Yeah, you and Miss Melissa, especially together, I think might be.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah. So, okay. Everybody can check me out. Go to yourkinkyfriends.com on YouTube, Nicholas Tanek. We like to keep it like low as one of the cool kids. So on YouTube, you just search. If you just go to Tanek, I'll come up and you can search that. But there aren't any like not safe for work, keywords, hashtags, or anything like that. You are either in the know or you're not. Go to Your Kinky Friends. We have a Discord chat group. Follow me on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. The whole crew, our crew there is at Friends Kinky on Twitter. Oh wait, another question. I am serving my best friend and her boyfriend. I have a CBT fetish. Do you recommend if I castrate myself for her to please her?
Would you regret castrating yourself if you stopped serving her?
Would you recommend that he castrates himself to please her?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think anybody should castrate themselves because that's going to be dangerous. If you do have something like that done, you need to have a medical professional involved. Somebody wanted me to castrate them once, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't responsibly do that. Yeah. I would be in the room if they'd let me, but I can't do the.
There's castration role play is a huge thing though. So
yeah,
do it like that, like people.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. See, we're an educational show.
Hell yeah, we are. Punk rock.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, everybody. It's getting late, my friends.
Yeah.
My dom is calling me. Remember the cardinal rule. Be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Take care.